So what did we watch this week?
We had a movie night.
You two did.
We did have a movie night.
We did.
We watched some good stuff.
2 bangers.
Yeah.
2 bangers. You want to start with the
Sure, yeah.
We
watched, the first one we watched was Donnie Darko.
Oh, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, we watched Donnie Darko, which was interesting because I came over, as I do, with a multitude of picks for Blaine, a charcuterie board, if you will, of sci-fi selections.
You're like...
And I went over to my horror shelf and I was like, well, what's horror sci-fi that Blaine might enjoy? And for some reason, I have Donnie Darko on that shelf. It's not really horror. It's also, you could argue it's not really sci-fi. I don't know what it is, and that's what's so interesting about it. It is a wholly unique original film that isn't quite like anything else. So it's got its own vibe, it's got its own tone, it's got its own philosophy, I would say. It's just really interesting.
Yeah, it's got its own, like you said, I think you called it like an art, just like an art movie, directed movie. I don't know how to describe it, but
yeah, it's
very much has its own style to it, which felt refreshing.
It doesn't explain a lot, but then in other aspects where you're like, wait, I didn't have questions there, it explains a lot. And you're like, now I have more questions though.
Yeah.
Kevin and I were talking about it and just all the multitude of interpretations of the film. Because he went home after I said what I thought it meant, which I maybe think it's different now. And Kevin explained to me what he thought it meant, which is completely different, but also both could coexist at the same time. It's really interesting. Yeah, it's one of those that you can sink your teeth into. But God, that cinematography, the Steadicam work
is fantastic.
Is great. They use a lot of slow-mo, but it's not incredibly slow-mo. It's like maybe 36 frames a second. So it's just like people moving a little slow, and there's this great introduction sequence with Tears for Fears Head Over Heels playing. And it just introduces every single character and their relationship to other characters. Silently. To music, but, without dialogue. It's just good stuff, man. And you got the weird rabbit guy. I haven't even talked about him.
Oh,
the sci-fi aspect. It's a time travel movie.
Which is like 100%.
Don't you know?
No, I haven't seen it.
But I've seen this rabbit dude before. I never knew what it was from. I'd be curious if you...
I've seen the poster. I know there's a rabbit on it.
Okay, so you know what he looks like.
He's the horror aspect, but is he though?
It's not really a horror film.
No.
Being a person that's not a big horror film guy, this is totally not that.
He just looks kind of spooky.
Yeah,
he's not a monster. He's
not
a bad guy. He just looks kind of spooky.
The scarier part to me was the reaction to the main character, like how he was reacting to the bunny and just going insane. That was scary.
His little trips at night, his sleepwalking episodes are interesting.
And then he's just staring in the mirror and smiling at the bunny. It's just, okay, this dude's insane.
Yeah, Donnie Darko rules, though. Ending's real trippy. Makes you want to rewind the whole thing and watch it again. But we didn't have time for that because we had to watch Starship Troopers.
Oh, boy.
Have you seen that?
I've seen Starship Troopers.
What a pairing.
Oh, my goodness.
What a double feature.
What an amazing film.
I love propaganda. Yeah.
That is so much fun.
After Donnie Darko, we need a little bit of an up. So, once the drinks are flowing and we're all in a good mood, we throw on Starship Troopers. And, it's just so much fun. It's Star Wars, but R-rated.
Yeah.
There's so much gore. There's decapitations, people getting stabbed. There's boobs. There's all the stuff you'd want, but also a very satirical look at what a government in that time period would look like. That time period being the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just does it in a very mature. I don't know how to explain it.
It's mature, but it's also not.
Yeah, it's joking,
it's
but
smart.
But it's very smart for what it is. I was not expecting.
It's like
how
this is
smart
when
it would
adults
be.
get to play with action figures.
Yes,
they bring out the firecrackers,
and they have money.
Yeah. So they get the good
and the
good ships, the big
yeah.
stuff. Which, dude, the miniatures.
Yeah,
in
the
that
miniatures.
film.
Oh my!
It was made in '97, so you think, oh, it's just going to be all CGI and stuff. And there is some of the bugs are, and even that looks incredible. I would say 90% of the effects look incredible. There's a couple of CGI shots where you're like, that doesn't look.
Well, they're probably
the bugs were a little rough.
To a close up in movement when they're far away.
Yeah,
they can get kind of scrambled. But even in close up when they're CGI, they look good. And then when something switches to practical, you're like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the CGI is definitely a little bit dated, but it doesn't it holds up well.
It's
they
just
didn't
the
overdo
textures.
it.
It's just the textures.
Yeah.
Just the textures can be a little flat.
It's very glossy, flat. Yeah.
CGI. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel as 3-dimensional. And then they, go into a close up and like there's a leg of one practically. You're like, okay, well, yeah, that's the real deal. But it's I don't know, man. It's fun. It's got its charm to it. It is a little long. I think it's like 2.5.
Yeah.
But sitting there, to being honest, I wanted more. I mean,
you do want more. I think there's parts of it you want more, but those are the parts where it's like,
I think the slowness is mostly in the first act.
I was gonna say
when they're in high school.
Yeah.
And you're waiting for them to actually take off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go be in the military.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's worth it because Michael Ironside comes back. And is that general later on. So, it's worth it.
But I feel like
there's so many setups and payoffs in that movie.
That first part wouldn't be... I don't need to rewatch that. All I want to rewatch is
You'd skip to the second act.
Yeah. It's based off a book.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably why some of the pacing might be a little bit off, because there's probably more to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably more in that scene of going back up,
I haven't read the book, but I do know that the movie is quite a bit different than the book.
Is it? Okay.
I think the book is actually unironically serious
with
the fascist stuff. And then
it would
Paul
probably
Verhoeven being who Paul Verhoeven is like, nah, this is some fuck shit.
It's also easier to be sarcastic in movie. I don't know. Maybe not.
The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Slaughterhouse 5, Animal Farm.
There's a lot of movies though that are based on books that are either very good or very bad. And I think, I mean, it's just how you interpret the book.
Right. And I think the best way to do that is especially if it's a one-off book and you're not doing a massive series like Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, is to go your own direction and bring your own interpretation to it.
We did get a massive series though, didn't we?
Of Starship Troopers?
There are like 5 of these.
Yeah, I was going to say.
They did keep making them. Well, at the end of the movie, the war is not over. They just captured the brain bug.
Is the game on?
Is it worth watching any of the other ones?
Dude, I don't know. I'm not watching that trash.
But I don't know. I like watching...
You let us know.
Trash once.
It's not Paul Verhoeven. The reason I'm watching this in the first place is Paul Verhoeven.
Okay, so it's... Yeah, that's fair.
I'll
let you know.